you.
That.
Oh, there
Cheers.
you go.
Solid,
Cheers,
everybody.
Cheers, boys.
Yeah, there you go.
Danny Oddman out.
And that shit's
That's
gross.
because Danny don't like no bush.
I mean,
I don't
makes
blame
my
him.
Tummy bubble.
Well, I think we know why we're all here.
Hello, everyone. We're doing a Detour North track-by-track breakdown of its history, its poetry, that is now reaching its... Oh, it already passed. Its 5-year anniversary, which we are doing the 5-year anniversary show for on September 2nd at Beat Kitchen in Chicago. Yeah, so we're gonna listen through the album, and we're going to just talk about each track individually. Let's do it. There were so many conversations while we were writing this album of just like what we were going for, what we were trying to say, what was the vibe, what themes were we trying to explore and everything. And I just want to know, at this point now, looking at it in hindsight, 5 years later, like what does this album mean to you?
You start that
Spit.
one.
Spit, King?
Speak your truth.
That's a heavy question.
That is a heavy question. I remember going in when recording drums for Its History, Its Poetry, and just being like, wow, this is like the greatest like piece of music and whatnot that like I actually got to be a part of, and like that was like super cool, and like sonically being able to like express myself was great. But like through all that, I think the album sort of resonated with me as I got older, listening back and like really paying attention to what Emmanuel was like talking about in his lyrical writing, which is crazy because like 5 years now, it didn't really like hit, but like after those 5 years have passed, like listening back, I'm like, oh my god, like this stuff is like hitting me harder now.
Oh, wow.
As like an adult, and like actually matured through everything, and just like I don't know, like picking out a lot of life, things that kind of happened, and like going back and listening, I'm like, wow, Emmanuel was like almost writing in the future. I'm like, oh my god, like this is stuff that happens. Like
was spitting.
he was spitting. It's like this stuff is like happening more now than when like it did when we were writing. But yeah, like I don't know. I think it is a very well written record. I'm very proud of it. It's definitely our sound, I think too. It definitely shows like what Detour North is, and I think every song on that record is what we are as a band.
Its History, Its Poetry was the first piece of work we had as Detour North where like I had an active role in writing it, and that was really cool. Like leading up to, for the past 2 EPs, I was just like the bassist, like least important, but like being surrounded by amazing songwriters, amazing musicians like Danny, like there's always a little bit of insecurity there. And then towards the end of Poster Child, I started playing a little more guitar. Like there's a few songs that I play guitar on that EP. And once we got to Its History, Its Poetry, like I got a lot more confident in like putting my ideas out there, and like having like learning the collaborative process more so. It was a frustrating time too. That was a very frustrating EP to write. I remember being up at like 4 a.m, like stressing about certain guitar parts, or like certain bass parts, and like texting Emmanuel, and Emmanuel was up at the same time like stressing about it too. But in hindsight, like that's something it's taught me something really important about art. And I feel like as artists we always strive to like create something timeless, put out your best work ever, but really art is just like capturing the moment, because there's a lot of things, like as much as I was stressing out about like these simple little details, going back and listening to it, I'm like, oh, that was insignificant, but I would have done this and this differently. Going back and listening, like none of that matters. We just did what we did at that time, and that's what I think is important. Like art's about capturing moments, and it's you can't sweat the small stuff. At the same time, like Its History, Its Poetry was the first. We did a lot of pre-production. Like I did a lot of pre-production for that EP too. So that was my foyer into like learning the art of like production and pre-production and like arrangement and everything. There's a few tracks I played guitar on and everything. I don't know, it was cool. It's cool. Yeah.
For me, it's like it's everything, because that's the first album that it's like the only piece of work that I'm really on, that I have out there that I can be like, yep, I helped write that. Like it's not just like, oh, I was did a little vocal part here, like I was like a part of it. And through the journey, like at the time, like I really loved this album at the time because you spoke so many truths about like just like going through college, and like even if you take college out of the equation, just like the like life struggles and stuff that like you talked about like resonated with me because that's the same shit that I was going through like the entire time. And like now when I listen back on it, it like makes me like tearful because it's like, damn, like we really went through a lot of shit writing that record. Like we hit so many obstacles, overcame so many challenges that we never knew that we were gonna have to face, and like we just did it and made like the most beautiful sounding record. And I don't know, it's just that record really matured me as just an individual. Just it made me grow as a person, and I'll never be able to forget that because without that record I wouldn't be where I am today. So thank you guys for letting me be a part of that.
Yeah.
No problem, dude.
I know. I'm like, I got like a tear rolling down my eye.
Jesus, one gangster's here.
We studied for that EP. Like we had a study. We all picked like 4 albums.
That's
think-
right.
yeah,
I forgot
yeah.
about that.
That's what I remember. I'm like, all right, we're gonna put in work for this album. We all picked 4 albums that we wanted to draw influence from, and I remember that being like.
I don't even remember.
I
don't
drew
remember
a
that.
lot of
I remember
inspiration.
doing that, but I don't remember like what albums they were.
Yeah,
I don't even remember
remember
that.
I
being a whole
have them right
discussion
here.
about
The albums are Killer's Hot Fuss. We have Rise Against, The Black Market.
That's got
That's Emmanuel.
I don't think that was me.
Really?
Yeah,
That's definitely
Maybe it was.
Definitely.
That might have been you,
It could have been
because you were
those-
really into Rise Against at the
I
time.
was.
You
Hot,
were,
Hot
yeah.
Fuss might have been you.
And then no, you were 4 Years Strong.
Yeah, that was me.
And then Say Anything was probably Anthony.
I think so, yeah.
What
yeah.
4 Year Strong album was it?
Get Rich or Die Trying or whatever?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Not, well, that's a 50 Cent.
I don't know what you heard about me.
21 question.
Rise or Die Trying.
Rise or Die Trying. I got you. Well, first of all, I think It's History, It's Poetry is the greatest pop punk album of all time. I stand by that. I stand by that, dude. I think it is the greatest pop punk album of all time. Maybe not the most popular, but I think it's the greatest. No, but seriously, to me, It's History, It's Poetry represent like there was something I feel like we were exploring, which was really cool, and I don't even know if we understood it at the time. But we always talked about this idea of like duality while we were writing It's History, It's Poetry. That was like a big
I remember
theme.
that.
Because of a certain book.
Well, it was all like the Catcher in the Rye was clearly, obviously, an influence on it, and of course the title comes from that. But like everything that had to do with the record was all about like this idea of trying to like juggle 2 things at the same time. I think a lot of that might have just come from all of our lives being so hectic at the time and feeling like we were juggling so many different things. I mean, we were juggling like jobs and school and relationships and just like finding who we were in our early 20s. Like there's such a hectic time. It was interesting because I feel like that theme manifested not only in the lyrics but also in the music and like the theme of the album. Like it's history, it's poetry. The album's kind of split into 2 parts. Like there's a first half of 3 songs that to me are a little bit more like fun and jumpy and like a little bit more classic of the type of thing we would do, and then like there's an intermission with Autumn Bloom, and then the second half of the album gets more like dramatic and a little bit more thematic and a little darker. To me, the album just represents like a very coming of age, and it's so appropriate that it is named after The Catcher in the Rye, but it just everything about it feels like this coming of age, and that's why I almost kind of feel like there is like that duality of like almost like childhood and adulthood coming to a head in a moment. And that's what I feel like that album represents. And by God, did we fucking nail it. I mean, if you ever want to know what it feels like to be in a quarter life crisis, it is that album.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you were to bottle us at that age, like the energy and angst we had at that age,
Yeah.
like that's that EP.
100%.
You guys ready to get into it?
Oh my God. Don't hurt yourself, dude.
Tricep, baby, get them tricep. Those aren't tries. Tries right here, baby. Yes, they are. Some try workouts.
You're young Kraus.
Right here. That's tricep. If you take this back,
That's biceps.
That's why you got no triceps.
Well, goddamn.
Bass slap.
Goddamn. First of all, I love that this song just starts with "Welcome to the Pharmacy" right off the bat. Like no music or anything, just starts with "Welcome to the Pharmacy." Like it's just like
Let
what,
me just
what
tell
an
you,
opener.
You know, in nursing school, these motherfuckers were saying that shit every day.
Were they
to
really?
me. They're like, "Welcome to," in class. I'm like, y'all are fucking clowns.
Dude, that is an earworm because like anybody I ever meet who knows of this band, that's like the one line they will always go to. Like when I was like a teacher for 6 months for a weird reason, like we're not even gonna talk about that. But when I was a teacher for 6 months,
Cut that.
But even my students would just sing that over and over and over again. Just welcome to the farm. That's like it's an earworm, man.
I didn't have shit to do with that, really.
No.
I think the only, and I could be wrong, but I think the only guitar part that I wrote for that was the very ending. That
Really?
and I just did all the backup harmonies. That's it.
Yeah,
because
I
you
mean,
guys
that's
wrote
probably
that song with somebody.
Yeah, no, that was
That's right.
that was the first song we wrote for the album.
Yeah, this was before I didn't say
Um,
shit. I was like, oh.
And we wrote that with a friend of ours. And yeah, that was one of the songs where like Emmanuel had a rough idea, brought it to us. I remember me and Emmanuel like workshopped the idea for a while. We ended up like getting an offer to co-write with somebody. So we went, worked with him, like he helped massage out the song a little bit. Yeah, and I mean it ended up being a hit.
This song is also, I think, a key example of a pattern that I definitely noticed with Detour North, which is a lot of the times, and with me and you working together specifically, and I'm sure we'll get to a lot of these more on some of the later tracks as well, is that I very often would come with a rough idea, and then like you guys would make it into being an actually good song. Because like I would write shit like if people heard the original version of Dead, I don't think they'd like it as much as what it became. Which, I mean, I guess is the point of collaboration. It just became such a better song over time than what I had even originally envisioned for it, I think.
The breakdown after the first chorus is probably one of my favorite things we've ever done. That shit's so fun to
shit's
play
really hard.
live.
Yeah.
This is one of the first songs that, like, at the time when we were writing for Its History as Poetry, I was learning like music production, like DAWs and specifically like rap production. Like I was making beats and stuff, and Roy Robley, our engineer and producer, like one day randomly messaged me and he was like, "Hey, like that rap stuff you're working on, like why don't you try like throwing some of that into the mix?" So he sent me the stems for the track, and like a few of like the transitions in the song are mine, and then the like programmed drums during the first break and like the first verse.
Shit's so cool.
Yeah, I programmed.
I've got the devil on my side, so I have demons of my own. And you will never understand what it's like to miss home. But maybe you could, if you would, just pick up the phone.
Yeah, but that was really cool because I was like, I don't know, that's not something I didn't think I was at the skill level to like contribute stuff like that. But I mean, Roy was like, hey, just give it a shot, and like some of the stuff stuck.
Shout out to Roy Robley,
shout
by
out
the
to
way.
Roy Robley.
The GOAT.
Roy Robley, the fucking greatest
Engineer and producer of this
engineer
record.
and producer on the planet. Huge shout out to Roy Robley. He did
Yes.
everything we ever did as Detour North.
Do you guys remember the working title of this song?
I do.
Oh,
I don't know that I do.
I don't think
I do. And I didn't remember until you told me not too long ago.
It's like an acronym.
We couldn't, for the
something
longest
wild.
time, it's not even.
It's not.
Remember
We
were
had
trying
to make one. No,
up.
so
Yeah.
what happened
Yeah.
was,
Make up an acronym. and
should I just say what the working title was?
Yeah, because I don't remember.
Nobody remembers.
Yeah.
Okay, the working title was Medication, which is a terrible,
yeah.
we were like, terrible name. Yeah, stinky, boo boo butt cheeks. And then the reason we had to come up with an acronym is because we wanted the title to be in all caps, but Spotify wouldn't allow you to have a song be in all caps unless it was an acronym. And so we had to
Wow, I didn't
fake
know that.
an acronym. So I came up with some bullshit of what it stood
Oh,
for.
it was terrible.
Yeah, I don't even remember what it was.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, so I put it,
It was
on our
like
Bandcamp.
Dream something. It was.
I don't know. It was something
so bad.
stupid. It does not mean whatever I put, but it's just called Dead.
So Emmanuel, what's the song about?
real.
That's a good question. what is Dead about? So I think we can cut this if this is a little too dark, but
Run it.
But the general theme of the song, I think Dead is pretty much just about, like, what I was exploring with that is having to show up every day pretending to be happy, even if that's not what you're really feeling. Again, kind of playing with that, like, duality that we always talked about in the album of, like, one thing can be true, but also something else is going on.
I mean, it's just a very, like, sarcastic song in general, like, welcome, like, I'm fucking pretending to be happy, like,
Yeah.
let me, like...
Here's the weird thing about writing lyrics that I find is sometimes, and I've talked to other lyricists about this too, and it's interesting that a lot of people think the same way, is sometimes when I'm writing something, at, like, in that moment, I don't even know what I mean. I'm just writing it because it's just, I just feel it. And it's not until I, like, think about it later where I'm like, oh, that is what I was trying to say. So it's weird.
The I'll lie with death if just to make you fucking scared of me. That line made me a little scared of you. That's a hard ass line.
Thank you. That's crazy. That's great. Dude, that's one thing that, looking back on Detour North in general, there's a lot of lines where I'm like, what the fuck was I saying? That's nuts. Like, what a crazy thing to say, honestly. And that's definitely one of them.
Sick.
Yeah, good shit.
Thank you. Bitch! I gotta dive
Cooking.
in.
Let's get
I
cooking.
gotta dive
baby.
in. One of my favorite things about this song, and this was a conscious decision I remember during the writing process, at least for me, on, like, the rhythm guitar, using the music as, like, onomatopoeia for what was being said in the lyrics. And, like, the part where it says, like, I hope you're bulletproof, and then the music goes, boom! Like, it's, like,
Yeah,
there's that
that's cool.
moment where it sounds
I love
like,
that.
and then the part, obviously, where it's like, in what key does your heart beat? And then the music starts going, doom, doom, like a heartbeat. I just think that shit's so cool.
I feel like this is the song that best exemplifies, like, Danny was like the heart of this band. Like, that song, the drums, like, I don't even
They
play
carry it.
drums, but I cannot help but air drum to that song. It's so good.
Yeah,
So
carries
much
that song.
energy.
Yeah, I mean, like, my writing process is typically just kind of like going off of like what the guitar feel is throughout the song, and so Blackmail specifically left a lot of empty space for me to, like, really plug in as to, like, what I wanted to do. And this was a song that allowed me to, like, really experiment, which was, like, really cool because I added all types of different, like, feels and sounds as far as, like, drumming goes. I mean, we have, like, a lot of hard rock, a lot of, like, punk influence, a lot of, like, jazz influence that, like, I wanted to implement too, which is, like, really
Bro,
cool.
that like after the first chorus when you go into that swing fill.
Yeah, that, like, swing fill. I really was super excited on, like, getting to, like, have opportunity to, like, do something with that. Because I remember when we were writing it, we had that break, and it was just kind of, like, up to me as to, like, hey, you know, like, figure something out to, like, plug into there. And I was like, bro, I know exactly what I want to do. And I wanted to just, like, mellow it out, have a little break there, you know, make it soft, and then, like, bring it back into, like, where it got heavy again.
So constantly dress yourself in grayscale.
I don't know. I think that song is a great example of just, like, putting in every element of, like, every genre, you know, into one. Because, like, I personally feel like there's a, you know, rock, jazz, like, heavy metal almost, like Linkin Park-esque.
Oh, there's
too
new
inside
metal
it.
in there. There's
that
new metal in there for
sound,
sure.
like, there's a little bit of everything that, like, adds so much, like, just, like, feel and sound into that track. And
I always make the joke that Detour North was actually a new metal band that was disguised as a pop punk band. Because there's that dude, the bridge in this song, it's straight out of a Linkin Park song. Like, Linkin Park is one of my personal favorite bands. They were one of my biggest influences. And I remember, like, writing that bridge, that breakdown, and just really wanting, like, a Linkin Park vibe. And I remember going into the studio, and I think it was your call, because I wrote, like, the guitars sound very Linkin Park. The vocal melody's got a Linkin Parkish feel to it. And then I even worked with Roy and was like, I'm gonna throw, like, a little, like, screamy rap verse in the background. And then I did
sick.
that. It's super cool. And then you were the one who was like, what if we, like, chopped it up and have it go with Then I died at 16. And
If you're the death of me, then I die at 16.
and it has like that like digital like
Yeah.
stutter.
Yeah.
So
Wasn't
fucking
the
cool.
record skip that would?
Yeah.
We were all like, nah, we don't want to do that.
It was super cool.
No, and I remember like throwing out that idea and Roy looking at me and being like, I could do that. Are you serious? I was like, yes, run it.
Yeah,
Run it.
and it sounded so cool.
Yeah, and like that's even, I want to say, I think maybe I had started it off, but I know that is your piano in the bridge of that song too.
Oh, is that really?
Yeah, like me and
wow.
you programmed that piano part.
That's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, that's one of the songs where like when we play that live, I have such a hard time not just turning around and watching Danny play that. Yeah,
It's
for
heavy,
a good
it's
one. It's a
heavy.
good one.
It's a very energetic song, which is, you know, great to play live. I love it.
That's the only song that I wrote parts to while we were jamming.
Oh,
Really?
That's the only song that I never took home and was like, I'm gonna fucking write to this. No, when we would jam live, because it's such a hard song, I'm like, I need to like, this has to work. So like that syncopation part that you would do, like that's why I came in with like the octave guitars, like I try to give a little groove to it as well because we have to emphasize what you're doing. So my guitar was actually very much like the lead guitars, the octaves, everything was very based off of what Danny was playing, and then was also based off of lyrically what Emmanuel was doing.
God, that is such an interesting. Like,
I've never written a song like that, and I don't know
Yeah.
if I ever will again, but it was wild.
I
to write
wanna
like
I
that.
wanna boast a little bit here because this song really
Spit your truth. Spit your
I'm
truth.
gonna
Talk your
spit
shit,
down the
King.
table.
I'm gonna
Talk your
spit
shit,
the
King.
truth. All right, here we go. You know, this song right here in particular is a perfect example as to how, you know, this band writes music. And like, it's crazy when we jam out and write these songs, we don't even really put a whole lot of like thought into it when we're like just kind of like finding the skeleton of like the track, right? We just literally get in, you know, play our instruments and feel it out. But once we feel it out, it comes together like that. Like it's so quick. And like that's the one thing that this band like has always had from the jump is just like everybody matching everything. It's not like we're sitting in a room one by one like, oh, I need to write this and we're gonna match this. It just like kind of comes together, and then we take the step of like, all right, breaking it down, because like that I feel like is super important when, you know, having chemistry in within a band and like writing music. It's just like when you can have that right off the bat is just like, yo, you know, perfect. And Blackmail is that
jam it
example of like we laid that out. I mean, I'm sure just from like jamming at first hand, but then like slowly just being like, oh, this is all just like coming together naturally, you know, and it feels good. Like it really works.
Yeah, I think that's something that we did a lot was like we would just, if we had a band practice, we would just play our instruments and just like for the first like 15 minutes, and like we'd be like, okay, we got to get to practicing, but we would just get distracted and just like jam for like 20 minutes straight. We would just
That's our formula though. Like it works every
and
time.
we figured out a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what's it about?
Damn it. This song's a little bit more straightforward. That like I think like Dead was a little bit more like heady and conceptual of like this is a feeling I'm trying to capture. Whereas like Blackmail
You were just talking shit.
Blackmail was me just talking shit. Like Blackmail is just Blackmail. That's why it's called Blackmail. I'm not gonna say who it's about. No. That was a beat for y'all.
Kind of doctor.
No, no, honestly, here's the thing. No. So I'm about to say it. So this is all gonna get cut or bleeped.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. I'm cutting this. But it was part. It was part.
I didn't know that for a long time.
Yeah. There we go.
Pardon me, I
That's all.
had to act up a little bit.
Yeah, that song.
Back to business.
That is.
So, if I can start this off.
Yeah.
Anthony, why do you like the 1975 so much?
Damn, that's a deep
It is
cut.
the best.
That has influence, right?
in the
That's a
whole
deep cut.
entire world.
That song influence is from
Just the beginning.
Yeah, they better keep Ice Spice's name out of their mouth, though. That's all I'll say. Good band. Good band.
That is my favorite song on the record.
That is
personally.
also one of my favorite songs on the record.
It's my favorite song.
because that's like the first time that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write the leads to the song, except for that beautiful lead that Anthony wrote in the beginning.
Yeah, that was a cool song. And how it came together was really cool. I like demoed the first half of the song. It was just an idea I had, and originally it was like super different. Like originally it was very like Warped Tour, like summery anthem kind of thing, like on the road. And then like I had showed it to everybody, and everybody's like, oh yeah, cool, let's work with that. And I remember like we were already like deep into the writing process, and like one day I took it home and like reworked the entire first half of the song. So it ended up being like very different. But like I'm also like that one riff at the beginning, the first verse with the
that shit goes crazy.
Good riff. That's one of my favorite
That's
things.
all
I've
you.
written. Yeah.
That's all Anthony.
Yeah. And then like I remember we brought it to like a writing session, and we like workshopped it a little bit, and then like Emmanuel took it home, and Emmanuel brought it back and had like a whole second half of the song, and like we just sat him down. We were like, here, track the guitar. And just like tracked the entire guitar track, and like we went back and kind of like tweaked some things. The ending, like when it gets a little like when it slows down, it's got that kind of chug situation.
That was you again.
Yeah, that was like a weird like jazz chord progression I had for a while that like we borrowed from to like make that part. It's cool. It gets really like the dissonant chords are super cool. And then my favorite thing about writing that song was like we had just an Ableton session with like, you know, Emmanuel had his guitars tracked, and we were like kind of just like, we're just gonna press record. You're going to like record all the guitar tracks, or all the like the lead guitar tracks. So like recorded everything, and then when we were like structuring the song, we chopped everything up, and we were like moving guitar parts around, and it came to an end after like the slow part. And one of Kem's like lingering lead guitar tracks that I just like pushed off to the side played, and it played the. We were like, oh fuck, it'd be so cool to come back in on that and just like a gut punch right there.
It was so cool because it happened completely by accident. It was just because you shifted that lead. It was supposed to be like earlier in the song, and then you shifted it to the end, and we forgot about it. And then the song just played through, and then that part played, and I just remember all of us just looking at each other and being like, what if we did that? That was crazy. Like complete accident, and it was super cool.
And that lead actually was born from a different lead that was ends up in a later song.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, but because I remember we were even struggling to figure out how to end that song, because we had the whole like slow part, the like last fall part, and then it cut, and that guitar part came, and we were like, oh,
it's like divine intervention.
It'd be sick if there was a little like breakdown part.
I'm so happy about that ending part, because it came to that lead part, and then like the octaves that I come in with, like. That's why that Rise Against album was so influential, because the one thing I noticed about Rise Against is that no matter where they are at in the song, there's pretty much always a guitar that's playing octaves. And that's where I really came to like fall in love with like, I'm gonna throw octaves everywhere. Like Dead, the hook, I didn't know what to put there. They didn't put anything there. I just put octaves, and it just follows the hook. And then in Blackmail, there's octaves that I slide octaves the whole time. And then in this song, there's really not that much octaves. It's all like single notes, but it's just crazy how like the album study really influenced how like I wrote, especially for the ending part of this song, because it comes to like the guitar pick slide and the octaves that come in, and it's just like it's really powerful in Detour North in general that I noticed too, which is similar to Rise Against. Is like their old songs, there's a lot of octave chords in there. It's just adds so much flavor. It's nice.
For sure.
Yeah, also I love, like hip-hop rap has always been like a very big influence to us. I just love how the second verse, when you really get to spitting, when you dig in, and your like your inner rap like hip-hop fan comes out.
Listen.
And it's just you rapping and being a crybaby.
Yeah. No, it is. But I've even told you guys this before. I wish I could be a rapper. I just can't. Even if you go back all the way to like the early Detour North songs, there were so many songs where like we'd write the songs fast enough, and instead of me like singing a slower melody to try to like make up for it, I would just try to like keep up with the pace. And I just was like, I want to spit just as fast as I can, and I'll do it in like a singing punk rock type of way. I think part of that comes from like loving Linkin Park as a kid. I think a lot of that comes from just generally loving hip hop. I remember specifically with that song in that second verse that you pointed out, like I was listening to a lot of Kendrick Lamar at the time, and that second verse to me was like, it was me just trying to do my best take on like a Kendrick Lamar flow, but obviously not rapping and doing it and like trying to just like take the essence of like what I loved about his flow and putting it into a punk rock song.
I hope my mother forgives me. Just broke down in a fucking bathroom at Wendy's and frantically called her and told her I'm sorry.
I hope my mother forgives me. Just broke down in a fucking bathroom at Wendy's. Like it's a very like triplet flow thing that like I pulled from just like all the rappers that I was listening to at that time, and I think it worked out pretty well. So that was pretty cool.
It was nifty.
Yeah,
for sure.
Let's fucking talk about it.
my
Autumn
God.
Bloom, written by Chem Nasty
This
Nasty.
song is so deep for me.
I have a very personal question if you're okay with answering it.
Absolutely.
Because I know the time in which you wrote this riff, you were reflecting on your father's passing.
This song, like, it's crazy. So, I started learning guitar, I don't know, midway through high school. And my dad helped me buy my first guitar and stuff like that. And then, like 2 weeks after high school, he passed. And I was learning this song by John Mayer called Stop This Train. And it's very much about looking at the people in your life and how they grow older and how, you know, you just want to stop this train and live in this moment right now. And in the middle of learning that song, I just kind of came up with this riff because of like the fingering style that John Mayer does. So I came up with this riff, which is the beginning of the song. And I wrote it with intentions to release it like a year later as like a song, like an ode to my dad. And a year passed, I never learned anything about recording. I just didn't have faith in myself to bring that song to life. And so 5 years passed and I did nothing with this song that I've had written for 5 years. And we were sitting in Danny's bedroom and we were like, oh, well, what's the next song gonna be? Like, we had nothing really. And so I just started playing this on acoustic guitar and they're like, what was that, you know? And so I played them the song and I don't think that I never told really anybody what this song really was until way after the fact, because I didn't want that to influence where this song went. And where Emmanuel took it is like, it still hits home for me because not only does it remember like my dad and where I was at in that time of my life, but at that time in my life I was also going through heartbreak too. So for him to write like a heartbreak song about it in such a dark fashion like really spoke to me. And so when we were recording this song with Roy, like, it just makes me so happy to hear that Danny got emotional recording this song because, like, I was emotional writing this song. And these guys just helped me bring this song to life in a way that I never thought I could, and now we're a decade past, and it's just hard to think about that song and not cry because it's just so powerful to me, at least.
Motherfucker, you got me crying.
I know, you're over there tearing me up, making me tear up and shit. God damn.
Really have,
And to see the love that song's gotten, like, kind of
that's-
post-mortem of the record is just like, it just reinforces to me that, like, okay, maybe I do know how to write a song. Maybe I can actually, like, do this shit, you know?
What a selfless thing for you to do too, to like have this song that's so personal to you, and like you wrote it from such a personal place of like, this is what this song means to me and what I wrote it for, but then to bring it to us and to be like so selfless and so open to collaboration. Like you said, you were like, you didn't even want to tell us what that song meant to you because you didn't want that you very easily could have been like, I want this song to be about this specific thing because this is what it means to me. But you didn't. You were just like, here's the riff, here's what I put into it, and then you let us play and like you let us bring out whatever we wanted to bring out of it, and that's just really cool. That's really cool that
I
you
don't
that
think
you
I would
allowed
have
for
done
that.
that with anybody ever. You guys are my brothers, so
Yeah.
love you guys.
Love you, Ken.
Love you too, Ken.
My boys.
Man, y'all gonna have me crying in here now.
Dude, for real.
In my like personal opinion, I think that's like the most magical song we wrote, and it's so different from anything else we did. But that song, you know, takes me back to like fall, like when we were writing it, when we recorded it, when we released it. No, it's a very special song, and how cool it is that Mallory, Roy Robley's partner,
yeah.
like played live violin over it too.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I don't know. There's so many moments in that song that are just like so beautiful.
There's so
like
many
the
production
We experimented a lot
Yeah.
too with that song. I know, like,
super out of our comfort
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah, it was really us wanting to show like we're not a one-trick pony, and that like there's a lot, you know, we have a ton of influences like John Mayer. I mean, like there was like I remember in the recording process in the studio talking a lot about like Johnny Cash, and like that's Roy pulled a lot of like production elements out of like a Johnny Cash song. I remember the way that he was having you like strum it, like he was like there's a specific like papery sound he wanted, and I'm pretty sure he put a piece of paper.
We put a piece of either it was parchment paper or wax paper. We put in between the acoustic guitar strings, and we just strummed the rhythm
because
to
he
it.
just wanted
Just
like
added
this like,
that-
and he was like it would
percussive,
give this
yeah.
percussive like Johnny Cash vibe, and I was like, there's just so many different elements at play that I think makes that song
And this
so
was one of
beautiful.
those songs where like Roy, where I was just like, wow, Roy is really something.
Mhm.
Like he actually gave a fuck about like the song
Yeah.
and gave a shit about us, and like I just realized how much like power and like influence like a producer can really have on like a record, which I don't think anybody understands like whatsoever. Like that is something that's totally glossed over. Like you hear your favorite artist, but there's a lot behind that song that it's not just your favorite artist that wrote that. There's a lot of stuff that went into that like would have never been there if it weren't for the producer in the room or the friend or whoever. So
I think
about.
one thing about that song, I think what you're touching on too is like that song is one for me that taught me a lot about like trust in art, because like you created that song, you trusted us to bring what we had to the table, even if it didn't, you know, even if it was different from your original vision, and we had to trust in ourselves that we could do something different and outside of our comfort zone, and then we had to trust in Roy to like be able to produce and bring a whole different perspective. And there's just a lot of like we were doing something so different and all just like trusting that everybody who had a hand in it was going to bring their A game,
Crazy.
and everybody did, and it just came out. It's one of my favorite songs.
I don't know, there's so much expression you could do just through playing your instrument, just through like writing music itself. And like because that song turned into something that wasn't what Kem originally had, doesn't mean that Kem wasn't still telling the story about his dad.
Exactly.
And I don't know, there's a lot to like just I don't know, I still listen to that song, and while I hear like what Emmanuel's doing, I still hear Kem's voice through the guitar, and
Absolutely.
I think it's a really beautiful thing.
Like you said, that longing.
Yeah, it's
That
very much
longing
longing.
for like more time with somebody.
Yeah, and I think that's
And that's
yeah,
why I
that's,
love that song so much and why it speaks to.
It still speaks to its original inception too. It's the
Yeah.
longing for more time with somebody
Yeah.
that you know you can't have more time with, whether that's romance or familial or friendship or whatever. I think all of that speaks to what the song is about.
It's a circle of life. The leaves
Such a
grow and then they
powerful
die.
song.
I had never felt like so just like wrapped up in a song, being just like, I don't know, like emotionally and just like all around was just like, whoa. Recording Autumn Bloom just like super, I don't know, just like hit me in a way that was just like, damn, like this shit is like, once I did that and finished recording that song, and like the feeling I had after was like, damn, this record's gonna be something like for everybody. So I don't know, I just wanted to add that in there. It was a very big moment. I remember you being in the studio.
Yeah,
with
I remember
me.
you saying that. I remember you.
And Emmanuel was like, "Damn, bro."
You
It's
came
like,
back-
I came back. I was just like, "Whoa."
You were like, dude. You were like, I was getting emotional while I was recording the drums. Like, I don't even know
Straight
what came
up. I was
over me,
getting
but like, I was
chills.
getting chills. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, we're cooking.
It
We
hit
got
That
something.
musical high.
It was
Yeah.
a musical high for sure.
Telling you year round, I like crave listening to this song during the fall, like driving around when the leaves are dying and drinking a pumpkin spice latte. It hits.
Totally
Yeah,
fucking
dude.
white bitching out.
Did we just write the song of the fall? Title track, baby.
There, we got lots of unload.
Yeah, this is a deep one.
The encompassment of the duality that you were talking about at the beginning, you know, like
Yeah.
the whole song is just straight up duality.
I'm a narcissist who hates himself.
Yeah.
That song is, to me, bottling something specifically that I was going through was just like this uncertainty of not knowing what the hell was going on with my life, what was coming next. It is, like I said, it's just like a quarter life crisis encapsulated in a 4-minute song. One thing I know that we talked about a lot, me and you, Anthony, with this record, was this idea of like, I don't feel like I'm okay. I'm losing it. I'm not certain about the future. I have no idea where I am or what I'm doing, and I have so much anxiety. But it's okay for me to feel that way, and that it's not, and that I'm okay for now. I'm okay in this moment right now, and that's why I love that, like, before the song goes into its big finale, like, that is the line that repeats, is I'm okay for now. I said I'm okay for now. And to me, that's like, that is the thesis statement of Its History, Its Poetry, which is why this is the title track. And yeah, I love this song. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. This one was, I think I had most of it demoed myself up until like the bridge, like the first half of the song. Like I had written like the rhythm guitar parts, and I demoed it with our friend Josh Williams. I don't know if I'm supposed to acknowledge that you're behind the camera, but he's behind the camera. He's shooting it. The GOAT demoed the song with Josh, just laid out bare bones guitar tracks. And I wasn't really like sold on it or anything. And then like that day we went over to jam with Danny, and we were just playing the track, and Danny just immediately started doing what Danny does best, just driving the song, like drivey drum parts. And so like we had this idea floating around for a while. I remember one time, this was when Emmanuel still lived in New York, I think. He was back for a weekend, and we were over at Chem's, and I was just playing it on acoustic, and just like on the spot, Emmanuel had the chorus, the hook.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
It just like immediately just had the lyrics and everything. And I think those are such clever lyrics for you to just like figure out on the spot.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's kind of how the song came together, and I think Emmanuel like kind of wrote the outro and everything as far as like instrument wise. But that was one of those ones where like up until that point, like Dead, Blackmail were written like very early on, and that was like, you know, Ken was still adjusting to being in the band, so like I was kind of like writing a lot of lead guitar parts, but that was one where I was like, I do not want to write any lead guitar parts. That's Kem's spot, and Kem knocked out the park. It was just such good
Crushed
parts.
it.
That was like the one song that I felt most confident in my abilities. Like, I spent so long listening to the scratch track of Anthony just coming up with leads, because he's like, you're gonna do everything on this. I'm like, okay, bet.
And it's better for it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to come up with something that was like, you could like hum out. Because I knew at that point in time I couldn't write a lead that was like a million notes in 2 seconds. Like, I just was not there yet as a guitarist. So I just tried to write the most catchy and like powerful, most emotional thing that I could write. And that just turned up into me literally just listening to the song over and over for hours until like I came out with something that was natural. It wasn't me like, okay, I'm gonna play this note and this note. It's like, no, this feels natural to play at this point in time. And that was the first song that I ever wrote like that, was just listening to it over and over again, and I played and played and played until it was like, okay, this feels right. Then when I played the leads at practice, they were just like, because that was when the whole like Salt Bay meme was going on. And they were all like, yo, you fucking
That was a
all
big
over this
meme.
bitch.
Just sprinkle
So
of Kem
tasteful.
all over the song.
Yeah.
I was always nervous anytime we put out new music, but when we put out this album, this was the song I was the most nervous about people hearing, because this one, more than any of, I mean, all of them in a way feel a little bit like I'm letting people kind of in, but This one felt like I'm letting the world read my diary a little bit, is really what this one felt like. So I remember coming up with the hook, like you said, at that kind of session that we had, but I didn't have any of the rest of the song, and it wasn't until my family had gone on vacation, and we went to visit a friend in Atlanta, Georgia, and I had taken my acoustic with me, and there was just a moment where I went down to the basement, and I just sat on their floor, and I was completely by myself, and I locked myself down there, and I was like, I am not leaving here until I completely finished the lyrics to this song. And I sat down with a notebook, a pen, and my acoustic guitar, and I just kept playing the song over and over again and just writing whatever came to mind. And I wrote the rest of that song in about 45 minutes. Like, that was... I'm a chronic overthinker, especially when it comes to lyrics. I always want to be like, you know, literary and like as many like play on words and double entendres and stuff like that. But like,
I feel like that's what makes Detour North what it is lyrically.
Oh, well, thank you.
Absolutely.
But like this song was much more, I was just like, I wanted this to just be my stream of consciousness. It was 45 minutes. I sat there and I was just like, pour whatever I have onto the page. And another thing I did with this too was I wanted it to be really, really introspective. Because a lot of the other songs are like, you know, like Blackmail was like a warning shot, like I said, like talking shit. July was kind of taking a stab at like the American education system. So there's always a lot of like external factors of like, you know, fuck this person or fuck the system or fuck the way things are. This
Fuck me.
This one was literally like me just taking a look at myself, and a lot of that was I was inspired by the song "Crawling" by Linkin Park, because I remember there was an interview I heard where they specifically said "Crawling" was a song where they challenged themselves to never use the word "you" in that song. Everything was going to be I, and I wanted to challenge myself to do the same thing and just completely look at myself. And I feel like I've learned a lot about myself and where I was at that time and all of my own contradictions and things that I was going through. It was definitely a very, very vulnerable, introspective song. Very stream of consciousness, very Catcher in the Rye. Just kind of like, this is just what's on my mind. And but I think that's why that song is as powerful as it is, because it really just where I was in that moment in time.
Cooking.
Yeah, man.
I will say, I don't know if you mind me sharing this.
No,
but
go for it.
When that song was being written, I remember, like, it must have been that night. You sent me a picture of, like, your notebook with the lyrics written, and, like, multiple lines had shit X'd out, and you wrote above it, "fucking idiot." So I was like, oh, God, you're insane. It's awesome.
No, dude, I'm my own worst critic. Yeah. I exit out in like red ink. Like you'd think you were looking at like the journals of somebody in an asylum. Like it was ridiculous.
I mean, maybe you should have been.
Yeah, maybe I should have been locked away. But no, it was cool. I'm really, really proud of how that song came out.
There's a lot of falsettos in there.
Yeah, your vocals are fucking amazing in that.
Oh, thank you.
Like the first couple lines, every time I hear, I'm like, Chester Bennington.
Dude, I know I've like mentioned Linkin Park like 5 times in this already.
Hey, speak your truth, sis.
I told Roy this, and I might have told you this too. I was like, my biggest goal with this album is to actually learn how to sing. Because I was the lead singer for every record before this, and I didn't know how to fucking sing. Chester Bennington from Linkin Park was kind of one of my number one influences. And so like having that really just like raspy, guttural, kind of like shouty but singy, like that was something I really pulled from.
Yeah, also like that last scream is like straight up, like that's like metalcore.
Yeah.
Disgusting. I love it.
Stole that line right out of an Iron Man movie.
It's crazy.
The drum part in the bridge.
Don't
Yep.
go there.
Little secret. So
It's not physically possible to play this.
it is not physically possible to play.
Studio magic.
I remember
baby.
that.
Little bit of studio magic, but me and Roy worked together on including, you know, a floor tom in between the snare break. I do like a marching.
It's like a marching band thing.
Marching band snare break,
Yeah,
you know.
it's
So
cool.
it's like the I'm okay.
Yeah.
during
that
that part. And then Roy was like, you know, let's add on, you know, loud like floor tom drums behind that to make it like really full and kind of like a, you know, orchestra almost. And so we did that, and it worked so well. And it's funny, you know, listening back. Like obviously, again, it's not physically possible.
You would need
to
4
play.
arms
You would
to
need
play
4 arms to
that.
play that. But that was again going back to experimenting with, you know, the recording process and like adding new elements into songwriting, and that was something very new to me. I had never been a part of a track where, you know, I'm doing my part and then you're adding a separate drum part on top of that.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but like that was recorded. The way that was recorded was you were playing the snare, like marching band part, and Roy was just standing next to you with 2 drumsticks. And didn't he play that
Yeah,
on the
he was
fourth?
playing-
Like it was
wasn't
all recorded.
overdubbed.
No, it wasn't overdubbed.
No,
it was
he-
all recorded
He played
at once.
that live right next to me. During
Super
all
cool.
that.
There was just 2
Yeah.
drummers on the same kit at the same
Same
time.
kid.
I said I'm okay for now.
So I have a question for you, because as far as the drums go, right? Like I'm thinking about the song thematically, and and at that part of the song is saying like I'm okay for now, and it's like the whole song is like bearing all of these vulnerabilities and all of these insecurities, but then it's like taking a moment to say, but you know what, like I'm okay for right now, and that's where the song kind of gets a little bit hopeful. And then for you to just like take that moment and make it like a marching band, like it's like this hopeful march. Like, is that something you consciously thought about, or did you just feel that? Because it works.
The way that you say that now, that's something new to me. But like when I was in the process of writing it, it was just kind of like flowing. I was like, you know what? There's like a nice little soft break. I thought that like the marching band, like, you know, esque of that drum part was like perfect for that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's interesting you say that, because thinking about it, it is almost like a, you know, theatrical kind of like build up. It's just like, oh, you know, you're walking through, you know, whatever you're doing, and like you're powering through it, but like you're building it.
Yeah, and you brought that out in the drums, and it's like
Yeah.
the fact that you didn't even think about it, but you just did that naturally.
Yeah.
I think speaks to you as
That-
just like an artist.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
That part
I don't-
influenced my part.
yeah, that's awesome.
I don't think you
Also
give
the
yourself
same.
enough credit for how intuitive you are as
Yeah,
a
thank you.
musician.
Yeah, I
100%.
just kind of, just kind of flow with everything and just what feels right. But for you to say that is really cool. I had never thought of it that way, but like thinking back, I'm like, you know, wow, that song and that break has that just like, wow, this is me getting through this, you know, hard time or whatever. it
And
is.
but for you to like speak to
Yeah,
that
I
in
know.
the drums, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's
Like that's so
crazy.
cool.
It
That's
is crazy.
Like, super super cool
It
that you
works.
just do that naturally. That's awesome.
The song also had a sick ass riff that we had to cut.
No, that's right.
Yeah, it's a real kill your darlings moment.
Talk about it.
Yeah, talk your shit. Because it was me. I killed it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Well, no, it was the right decision.
Okay,
It was
alright,
the right
cool.
decision. But it went a little like. Dun dun blah 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 boo doo blah da doo doo.
Do you have the demo? Because I can cut it in.
Yeah,
Just give me the
Yeah,
demo,
okay.
and we'll cut that in here. I'm just out here scatting, just scoop the bop, bop, da.
Which is you guys got the gist of it.
Yeah.
I honestly being so sad that didn't make it in, because I remember
Yeah.
when we demoed that, I just remember thinking, I'm like, Anthony is the best guitar player I've ever met in my life. This man knows how to write music. Like, that riff's, I was sad.
And then y'all brought the song to me, and you guys were like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "I love it, but this one riff, can we cut it?" And then I remember both of you just being like,
No, because
and I felt bad.
because I knew, like, bringing it to you, I was like, I know, like, first of all, you're not gonna be able to play that and sing
yeah,
at the same
no,
time.
I can't.
But also, I'm like, I know this riff does not need to be in this song, but I want it. I want it.
It was just, it felt like, don't get me wrong, it was a cool riff, but it did feel a little out of place with what the rest of the song was doing. And I think that's where I was
Fair
coming
enough.
from.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we'll cut it in. We'll cut it in.
Me scatting.
Woo! How y'all doing out there? My name is Darius Daryl Danger, everybody. All right, here we go. Now, we're talking about Detour North Saturday, September 2nd, 2023. Get your tickets now. They're running high. They're only for $12, all right, here. Now, listen, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see this band one last time at Beat Kitchen in Chicago, Illinois, everybody. And are we excited for that?
Oh, we're real excited.
Yeah,
Darius.
we excited,
We're real
bro.
I bet you bottom down. I'm excited. God damn it.
Jumping and jiving for this show, all right? Now, listen here. This show is going to be explosive. We got Mass Tech, Bad Planning, and yours truly, Detour North at the end, everybody. It's going to be explosive. It's going to be dingy. It's going to be slam. It's going to be fucking great. All right? Listen up. It's going to be dingy. Alright. Here we go, ready?
It's gonna be mangy.
Why did I say that?
Just keep going, jump back in, you got this. You got this, jump back in.
Alright, now don't forget, you gotta have everybody at this show call Meemaw, Paw Paw. Now don't forget, you gotta have everybody come to this show. Call me, Ma, Papa, Cousin Eddie, Uncle Joe, and Bubba. All right? We'll make sure that they're at this show September 2nd, 2023, Beat Kitchen in Chicago, Illinois. I want to see everybody there, all right? Make sure you buy your tickets. They're only $12, all right? And, you know, a word from our sponsors. Anybody have anything to say?
Oh my god. That's a good preference.
I got nothing.
Why are you so good at shit
Hell,
like
that's so hard in a minute.
Dude.
What you did with your happy girl, I'm just scared. Are you happy? 'Cause I swear I don't care.
Good.
You
So,
look
bibbidi
like
bop bop.
hell.
You look like hell.
You look like hell.
I had an idea for a song. I knew what I wanted to write about. I knew how I generally wanted the song to go. I worked with Kem on it. Me and you wrote like what was supposed to be a full band version of it. We brought it to the full band, and they hated it. They just did not fuck with it at all.
Well, I missed a practice, and you guys jammed the song.
That's right.
And you guys were all so excited about it, and I was the asshole who came to the next practice and was like, "I hate this. I hate this song."
Yeah, did not fuck with it, and so at one point we were probably just gonna scrap it, but I really believed in this song. Like I was just like, there's something here. I like most of the time, because again, like talking about trust in like your collaborators and the people that you work with, there have been plenty of times where I brought a song that I wrote, showed it to them, they didn't like it, and I just scrapped it because I was like, okay, if they don't like it, then clearly it's not good because I trust their opinions. But this was the one time where I was like, y'all are tweaking. Like, I believe in this. Like, I genuinely believe in this, so I fought for it.
Yeah, like, this is definitely, like, there were, like, heated arguments over this song.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, Emmanuel was very insistent about it at one time, and, like, I know for a fact, me and Danny were just being assholes, too. Like, we were like, nope, don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. But, like, you know, Emmanuel was, like, very persistent, and I was like, okay, like, guess I should stop being a dick. So, like, I took it home, and, I don't even think I told you, because, like...
No, you didn't tell me until it was done.
Yeah, I, like, reworked the whole song, just be, like, an acoustic song, and, like, rearrange things. So I really wanted it... I don't know, this is one of those songs where, like, you know, as much as the song's about one thing, like, I tried to rework it from, like, a lovesick, just, like, depressed kind of place, like, dark place. Not gonna lie, it's a really random, weird thing, but I watched that episode of Grim Adventures of Billy and Maddie where Grim falls in love with the goth girl.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't
and,
know this.
For some reason,
What?
it really inspired me. Yeah.
There's
and then,
no
like,
way.
you know, she finds out that he's like really the Grim Reaper, and she like freaks out and like runs off on him. And I was like, why did that just move me?
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that.
and now that you mention it, I feel like that comes across in the song. Genuinely.
Yeah?
Yeah. I did, like, because I mean, it's the whole, like, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously like a breakup song, but there's kind of this just like, I'm an angry person and I don't deserve you for some reason. Like, if you're the fucking Grim Reaper, you can't be with a human woman. Like,
yeah.
I will say, as much as you guys were being assholes about it, I think it all worked out for the better, because you ended up like being. You didn't have to rearrange the song. Like, you did end up taking. I didn't even know that you did that until at one point Anthony just hits me up and he's just like, you know, I did something with the song. What if we did it this way? And he showed me the acoustic version of it. And you had written the entire acoustic arrangement of it. And I remember hearing it and just being like, that's so much better than it would have been otherwise anyway. Like, I think this song needed to be an acoustic song. It works like this. I don't think it would have worked. I mean, it would have been fine as a full band song, but it wouldn't have been nearly as good of a song as it is. It fits in this tone, and Anthony found that. So definitely credit to him for that. And people love it. People love this fucking song.
It's a good
crazy.
song.
It's a really good song.
And like, yeah, I mean, it just, as Emmanuel said, it like really speaks to the idea of having trust in your collaborators. Where like, there's a long time where like, the fact that Emmanuel was so persistent about the song for a long time was like, made me hate it even more. But I'm like, dude, I do not want to play this song. But eventually I was like, you know what? Like, if he sees something in it, like, maybe I'm just not seeing what he sees. And like, we all in the band had different skills. Like, Emmanuel was a fantastic songwriter, fantastic lyricist. Like, he put songs together, but like, arranging was never his strong suit. Like, writing songs is not my strong suit, but like, arranging is. There's a lot of conversation about like whether bands and like songwriting should be like a democratic process, or if there should be like somebody leading the charge, whatever. I think Detour North, we never really worked like that. We were always kind of just like, everybody had a lot to say, and I don't think that works for every band. I think that's probably why we like took so long to write music, is because we always had to like find a middle ground. But I think it was always, the music we wrote was always stronger because of it.
I agree. I completely agree, because it just brought so many different perspectives, and I feel like we all filled each other's gaps in that way. Like you said, like I'll be the first to admit I've never been.
Pause.
But I'll be the first to admit I've never been great at like arrangement specifically. Like, that's not where, like, I can envision like the general vibe of a song and I can get it on paper, but it's kind of like what I said earlier, where I was like, I'll write a really ugly song and then I bring it to you guys, and you guys then make it an actually good song. And I think like this is the perfect example of that. Ken or Danny, do you guys have anything to add to You Look Like Hell specifically?
I just remember I remember us recording this song for so long because man was like, I'm gonna sing the fuck out of this song. And he would not stop until he got the takes right.
Yeah.
Like this was the session that you lost your voice, I know for a fact.
I did. I forgot about that.
We just kept going and going and going. And then there's this one part where, admittedly, we all hated the lyrics too.
Yeah.
And when we recorded it, Roy was like, I don't know about this. And we were like, yeah, we didn't like that lyrical part either. And Emmanuel rewrote it in the session immediately, and this is just crazy.
I said a lot
to just
of
like go back on what he did and just be like, you're right. And then he just rewrote it, and then it's like, you would have never known that.
Thanks for rocking with us. We've been Detour North.
You're saying, let's talk about it. You're saying
I'm dirty. Musky
That
and
riff?
dingy.
That's a nasty, filthy riff.
You know what? That was a riff that I came up with. I was like, oh man, I fucking like this. And I showed it to them, and Anthony just went off with it. He was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna work with this, and he just took it.
Well, we like you had been playing that riff for a while, and we jammed it for like an hour. And I remember like this was the first time I did this. Like I pulled out like my voice memo, and like recorded it, and just like we were all just jamming with it. Like Kem had the riff, I kind of came up with the chord progression, and like the changes, like a lot of the changes, and like I took that voice memo and went home and just like demoed it and just kind of like started arranging things.
The ending of that song is just so
cathartic.
It is a great like I don't know, a song like drum wise too, I feel like it really brings it together. It's such a fun, like, rhythmic type of song. A lot of flow.
I remember us loving that drum part so much that we were like, that's how the song should open. Like before anything else comes in, just have that
Just you go.
like that. We were like, that's got to start the song before anything else even comes
That's
in.
just tasty.
Yeah.
It's just real tasty.
Yeah. That was like I think that was the last song written for
It was.
the album.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. And that was kind of a direction I wanted to try out with us, where it's just like guitars were just like mean. Just like it was just like aggressive, but not in so much like a punky like kind of way. A different kind of angst that I kind of wanted to pull from that like reminded me of a lot of like 90s alternative rock, where it was just like drivey and just like mean and like dirty, nasty, dingy. And that's what I was going for.
I went for a dirty ass 80s solo. For
It
some-
sounds very 80s
for
too,
some
dude.
unknown reason.
No, and it's
I
like-
don't
harmonized
know why,
guitars.
but I was like, you know what, this just feels so good.
I remember showing,
And Roy helped me like figure out like the notes to like make it sound that way.
dude, the harmonies where the guitar that like that part.
But
like,
that's not a harmony. That's literally just a bend.
I was-
you have
no, there's like another harmony over
there
that.
is another.
Yeah.
There's another bend. You're right.
Emmanuel heard God through Kem's guitar solo.
It's true.
What?
It's true. I actually
God
did.
spoke to him.
So
What?
you're
I didn't
exaggerating. You're exaggerating, but that
Nope.
is
Nope.
It is partly true. It's not that I heard God through the solo. It's more so that
God had a mullet and a mustache. Eddie Van Halen custom
He's like,
guitar.
God damn it! This
Playing
is
No,
he was
it's-
playing from a 5150.
no, it's that there is obviously throughout there's a whole theme of. I use a lot of imagery of like saints and God and like these sorts of things in that song. The song's called "You're a Saint, I'm a Non-Believer." So like it's interesting because like in the lyrics there's that part where it's like everything about this is wrong and it's all gonna end tonight. I hope to God that it ends tonight. And then right after that line, that guitar solo kicks in and it almost feels like like I don't know, like thematically, I'm not saying like, oh, I heard God through. I'm just saying like storytelling wise, it feels like there's like a cry out and then it gets like an answer in the form of just like this beautiful guitar solo and it just feels so cathartic.
And it's all gonna end tonight. I hope to God that it ends tonight.
Thematically, it's like God answering a prayer, and I'm just like, that's just such a cool
That's
little. It's like a
insane.
to me, it's like a metaphor for like what happens at the end of that song that like wraps it up. That I think is really really cool.
It's a good song.
Great song.
Really good song. I think I don't know if you guys would agree or disagree. I think if Detour North had continued after its history as poetry, I feel like it would have sounded a bit more like You're Saying I'm a Non-Believer.
I would say that might be one of the most like mature songs we ever wrote, and so I feel like if we were to kind of continue from there, it would be an iteration on what we did in that song for sure.
It's very different.
So that's each song. Is there anything else, any other thoughts you guys have just on the album in general, on any specific track? Is there anything else about this record that you guys just want to say as a final thought before we sign off?
Thank you guys for keeping Detour North alive, and I feel like we've said this once or twice, but we wouldn't have the opportunity to do this kind of thing if it wasn't for people still caring, and that's crazy. You guys can care about anything, and you guys still pay attention to our band, and that's fucking awesome. So thank you guys, and just for people out there who are making music, keep making music, keep doing it, and do it despite what anybody thinks, and don't try and make the greatest thing ever. Just make something that you're feeling in the moment, and that's all you can ask for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Writing music and just challenging yourself is the most important thing you can do in life. Just take yourself out of that comfort zone, and when you don't think that you can do something, just do it, because you'll surprise yourself. And I just want to thank you guys for letting me be a part of this band and letting me just be me, and never once make me feel like I was out of place even though I joined this band kind of a little late in the game, it's meant the world to me. And no matter how upset I get at you guys about being late or not fucking responding to anything important, but
You
then
were
making
late today.
like titty jokes. Yeah, I'm late every day now because I know you motherfuckers are at least 30 minutes late. So there's just so many lessons I learned with this band that I'll carry on throughout my life, and I'm just so grateful for it. So thank you guys. Appreciate
Love you,
it.
Tom.
Love you too.
Danny?
I'm gonna sign off with one thing, and one thing only. The main ingredient for being in such a welcoming and wonderful band is have fun. Because without the fun, all the other stuff just isn't gonna fall into place. So have fun, make music, and enjoy yourself in the process. And like Anthony said, don't take it too seriously. And yeah, that's it. Have fun. Thank you for joining in.
Amen.
If I can give any parting words, I would just say I am so thankful for this album. Its History, Its Poetry means the world to me. I mean, as somebody who, like, I don't know, grew up feeling really out of place and really insecure, to kind of find something where I felt like I belonged and I felt understood, not only by these guys here, and how we just worked as a unit on this, but then for the way that our audience responded, to just feel like my experiences are not my experiences, and our experiences are like a universal experiences, and that there's so many people who go through these things and feel these things and are confused and scared and angry and anxious and not knowing what to do with themselves at a moment in time, and for all of us to put that into a project that means something to people and they can relate to that, it just felt like we're not alone. And that's what this album taught me, and I wouldn't be the person I am today without it, and without you guys, and without this band, and without this record and this music and these fans. So thank you guys, thank all of you, because I feel like I'm a better person for it, and I hope we all are. So
Thank you guys for joining in with the Track by Track with Detour North here. We hope you enjoy it. We cannot wait to see all of you September 2nd at Bee Kitchen in Chicago. It's going to be a great show, so we hope to see everybody there, and friends, family, fans, to have one last sign-off as Detour North and make it the best of the best. So, thank you.
love you all. Thank you so much. Seriously, love you guys. All right, we got through it.
We did it!
We got through it.
Buddy!
I hope to God that it ends tonight.